Hey everyone, vampires have always had a way of lurking in the shadows of cinema, and Nosferatu has remained one of the most iconic vampire stories in cinema since the original silent film debuted in 1922. Here we are, 100 years later, and Nosferatu is back because vampires, they never really die. So, how does this 2024 remake compare? Not just to the original, but to other modern vampire films today. And is this newest remake worth your ticket and your time? Before we dig in, please give this video a quick thumbs up and subscribe for more and hit that notification bell so you don't miss a thing or any future reviews. Now, let's sink our teeth into it. I know, because you knew a vampire pun was coming. Yes, you did. All right. So, directed by Robert Eggers, Nosferatu is set in the Victorian era in the fictional town of Wisburg, Germany. And the film follows newlyweds Ellen and Thomas Hutter. And it's really about Thomas's trip as he travels to see Count Orlok in order to close this property deal. And Count Orlok is off in this remote region of Romania, deep into the countryside. So, hoping to secure some extra money, he starts their marriage with this trip. And Thomas takes that 6 week journey to Orlok's isolated estate and he leaves her behind with some family friends. But we quickly learn that she has been haunted by nightmares of a demon for most of her life, visions that had disappeared after her marriage. However, these visions weren't just bad dreams. They were signs of a demonic attachment, one that Count Orlok wants to reclaim through manipulation, seduction, and psychological torment. The structure of Nosferatu follows the general outline of Dracula, with some unique deviations, but the essence of vampire drama is basically the same. In fact, it's so similar that back when the original was first produced, Bram Stoker's widow sued the producers and won. And now Bram Stoker is credited as one of the authors of the story, which should be a lesson for everyone not to mess with the granddaddy of vampires. Overall, the casting of Nosferatu was actually pretty well done, but something just didn't feel right within the film. Ellen Hutter, played by Lily Rose Depp, delivered a decent performance that took turns between being overly serious to comical due to some of her close-up camera angles. Her husband Thomas was played by Nicholas Hoult, who emerges as one of the strongest performances in the film, capturing his confused descent into madness and fear under Count Orlok's influence. He was compelling, and you genuinely felt his disorientation and dread as he navigates the Count's grim estate. Willem Dafoe is strangely spectacular in his role as Professor von Franz, but the mad, campy energy that he brings, it feels like he was actually in a different movie from everyone else. It felt like he got what this movie should have been, while the rest of the cast took on their roles with a grim seriousness, which I'll get to in a moment. Count Orlok, played by Bill Skarsgård, isn't at all what I imagined for this part, but he did a great job bringing a no nonsense menace to the role. For most of the film, he's actually kind of obscured in shadows or seen in these unsettling angles or quick jump cuts, which build suspense very effectively. When he's finally revealed, his physical appearance doesn't quite match the iconic imagery from the original Nosferatu, despite the marketing heavily relying on that classic look. Instead, the design choices for the vampire lean into the grotesque, but they did preserve the look and atmospheric feel of his hands. And the interplay of his hands with light and shadow on the wall are really well done. The film is honestly, it's an artistic masterpiece visually. It captures the haunting, grainy decay of the Victorian world. Shadows and light play a really critical role, becoming characters in their own right and creating a sense of unease in almost every frame. The cinematography in each scene is also beautifully done. It echoes the style of early cinema, leaning into the negative space and that claustrophobic framing that heightens the film's oppressive atmosphere. It feels like this was why the film was made, so that they could remake the original, but with modern technology that made it look like the original. I actually wish they had changed things up. As visually stunning as the film is, the dialogue feels like it was ripped straight from the Victorian era with zero updating or very poor updating. It just made it come off as disconnected, like the actors either didn't understand what they were saying or they knew what they were saying and they couldn't figure out how to say it in a way that didn't sound awkward or ridiculous. As a result, there were so many points during a serious scene when the audience would just start laughing awkwardly and laughing as if they weren't sure if it was a joke or not. And then they would just kind of stop in kind of hushed weirdness. If it had just happened once or even twice, it might have been a mistake, but it happened routinely, which made it feel more like a directorial choice than anything else. And the cast, other than Willem Dafoe, just didn't get it and couldn't deliver it. It would have been far more effective if they had just slightly modernized the text to roll off the actors' tongues a little more fluidly and wouldn't ring so false in the audience ears. At well over 2 hours, Nosferatu overstays its welcome, and I was wishing that Buffy Summers would time travel and universe hop just to put me out of my misery toward the end of the film. I love vampire fiction, but this one really stretched my love of vampire films. The pacing, it was inconsistent with long stretches of lingering shots, scenes that didn't need to exist, and repetitive sequences that just sapped the energy from the narrative. However, there are certain scenes that are beautifully executed, but they are drawn out unnecessarily, like the ones showing Ellen's connection to Orlok through symbolic gestures associated with the locket of her hair. The film's prologue also feels unnecessary, with the opening scenes revealing way too much about Orlok's connection to Ellen, diluting the suspense and mystery that should have built up gradually over the film in order to add instant shock value in that opening credit scene. It would have been far more effective to slowly uncover Orlok's shadow and influence, rather than letting the prologue rob the later scenes of their impact. Nosferatu is an ambitious film with moments of brilliance, especially in its artistic style and direction, but it struggles to balance its serious Gothic horror roots with an inconsistent, campy tone, and it staggered the pacing between them within the story. Its stunning cinematography and eerie atmosphere and standout performances by Nicholas Hoult and Willem Dafoe keep the film moving. But the bloated runtime and clunky dialogue really weigh it down. If you're a fan of slow burn horror and gothic storytelling, there's still plenty to enjoy here for you, especially if you appreciate atmospheric visuals and thematic depth. However, if you're expecting a tightly paced thriller featuring a vampire, compelling characters, and an updated story that's based on the original, you might leave feeling a little bit underwhelmed. Overall, I do think the film is ticket worthy, but more at a matinee price than a full blown ticket price for a night out because films are expensive nowadays. So, Nosferatu, have you seen it? Are you planning to watch it? Share your thoughts in the comments and let me know what you loved, what you didn't, and how you think it could have been improved. And if there are things that you just really are looking forward to or loved in the film, definitely put that in the notes too. Because, in my opinion, vampire films are very personal. You like them, you don't like them, some you love, some you hate. This one, it just wasn't for me, but it might be for you. So if you watch it, I want to know what you liked about it and what really spoke to you with this film. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and check out my review. And why not check out the review of The Last Voyage of the Demeter? It's an amazing film about Dracula's voyage to London. It's streaming and well worth your time. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.